like I said, we can do various types of constructors for a single object. For student, I have 3 different and okay constructors. It's fine. Again, constructors are there to really frankly make things easier on you. Now, let me make sure it's perfectly clear. Easier on you. Do you have to create these different versions? No. No, you don't. Now, I bet you if you don't do a default one, the compiler will give you a warning or maybe even an error. I've seen different compilers do different things here. So just a heads up on that. You're probably going to at least do one. But the other ones are really up to you, the programmer, if you really need it or not. If you just need one, fantastic. Also look at the other ones. Again, we talked about overloading before. This one has only 1 parameter passed in. This one has 3. So that's fine. That, again, we talked about overloading. So that kind of comes up with this overall exercise here that I want you to do. There's really 2 parts to this. I'm going to go over the first one with you here in a moment. So I'm going to flash back in, go over an answer with you. And then the last one, I want you to start creating your code, which again is copy and paste. So let me do part 1. I want you to tell me after all of these different instances are created of student, you're going to tell me which constructor, number 1, number 2, or number 3, which one of those did it call. Don't make this hard. It's meant to be super easy, okay? But if it's not, we'll go over it, okay? I want you to answer that part first. Then after that, I'll worry about the create one more non-default, okay? So worry about this particular portion that's being highlighted right now, and I'll come back in a second. All right, for part number 1, which constructor called student Lupoli and has 3 instances of it? Is going to be constructor number 3 because, hey, it literally has 3 integers. It's not just about the 3, but again, it's overloading. 3 integers or 100s, then it's going to match that one. For number 2, Sitlali. I think that's an interesting name, neat name. That one's going to be the same thing. That is going to be constructor number 3 because it's 3 parameters, not just that, but also 3 integers, and each one of those are integers as well. The next one is Tripper. Tripper is going to be using a constructor with just 1 parameter, and it's an integer. Which one's 1 parameter and integer? That would be constructor number 2. Our next one is Chris with negative 100, negative 10. Boy, Chris did terrible. And negative 80. That's still all integers, and it's 3 of them. That's going to be constructor number 3. Next one is Andy. And notice it doesn't have anything, so it's going to go ahead and use the default constructor. Now, what I want you to work on is our one more non-default constructor for the container class. There's really actually going to be some varying answers. I'll show you an answer here in a minute. But again, copy and paste it, change it a little bit from what you need, and leave it at that. Okay? Keep it simple. I'll be back in a minute. Here is a possible solution. For this one, I am setting 3 out of 4 data members. The only one that I am basically default valuing it is our current storage is set to 0. Now again, can I change it later? Absolutely. But for now, I'm setting it to 0. And yes, this is a little bit different than the other programmer-defined constructors that we had before. So again, can your answer vary slightly? The answer is as long as it compiles, number 1, Number two, as long as it is different than some of your other constructors that you had for a container already, then you've answered it. You've answered it. But this is just one version that you could possibly have.